Well, welcome to Thursday evening devotions from the kitchen table, where we've been talking about Jesus' last words from the cross during Lenten season and sharing thoughts about our Lenten study that we've had. We just finished the sixth week or the sixth session of the Lenten study last evening, and so we're going to share those with you as well. Now, the studies from a book by Susan Robb titled 7 Words, Listening to Christ from the Cross. It's an excellent study. If you choose to read that book sometimes, I'm not selling books, but it's just a good study if you're looking for something nice to share with each other. So tonight we're sharing the words of Jesus, the final words of Jesus in from this sixth session, where Jesus is getting ready to die, and before he dies, he struggles to catch his breath, and he says, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. Into your hands I commend my spirit." Those words are found in Luke's Gospel, chapter 23, verses 44 through 46, and again in Psalm 31. Iona Island is a island on the west coast of Scotland, and it's said to be the birthplace of Christianity in Scotland, and many pilgrims make a journey there just to go and to be inspired. It's said that it's a beautiful, inspirational place to go. The Celts call it the thin place. Now, thin place is where heaven and earth seem to touch one another. They seem to touch each other and come together. And you sense a spiritual awakening, or that you have been in the presence of God. Those thin places can be anywhere, for that matter. But this Iona Island is a special place to many people. Another example of a thin place would be found in Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 19, where Jacob was in a wilderness. And the wilderness there, if you've ever been there, it's real rocky. And so Jacob found himself in the wilderness, and he laid down to go to sleep one night, and he used a big rock to lay his head on as a pillow. They didn't have the My Pillow guy there in his time. But anyway, he went to sleep with his head laying on that rock, and he fell into a deep sleep. And he had a dream as he fell into this deep sleep. He saw a ladder stretching all the way from earth up into heaven, going all that way. And he saw the angels of God ascending and descending the ladder. And suddenly God appeared at his side, and he renewed the covenant promises that he made with his father Abraham. He renewed those promises to Jacob. And when Jacob awoke, he proclaimed, God was in this place, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it. Jacob had discovered that he was in the thin place. A thin place, as I said a moment ago, can be anywhere. Anywhere you feel the divine, anywhere that you feel God's presence. There are many thin places, and they can be found in many different settings. They can be found in settings that you would never think that they would be found in. They can be found in settings of sadness and tragedy. John Wesley describes things like Bible study, worship, or Bible reading, prayer, loving and serving others, and some other things as means of grace that are spiritual practice, which, if we use them, can bring us into the presence of God and thus into a thin place. Jesus hung on the cross from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. At noon or 12 o'clock, the sky turned black, dark as dark could be, all over their part of the world, as Jesus was hanging there suffering in agony. For the witnesses that were watching this event, it may have seemed that God was missing. It may have seemed the opposite of a thin place. It would have seemed like their world was being turned upside down. It was their darkest hour as they watched their hopes and dreams die with Jesus. As Jesus took his last breath, the curtain in the temple, which was a very thick curtain, which separated the holy place from the Holy of Holies. The Holy of Holies contained the Ark of the Covenant and the mercy seat of God. It was said to be the dwelling place of God, and only the high priest could enter the Holy of Holies once a year. Once a year, and they would sprinkle the blood all around on the inside. Well, the curtain that separated God from God's people was torn in two. It said it was torn from top to bottom. Top to bottom. It certainly implying that the only way that could happen was that by divine intervention, that it was torn from top to bottom. The veil upon Jesus' death, the veil between the presence of God and God's people was removed, and Jesus upon his death became our high priest, offering us direct access to God. In his last struggling breaths, Jesus prays, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." It is a prayer. It's not a cry of defeat. It is a prayer. And it's found in Psalm 31, verses 1 through 5. And of course, the entire psalm is a prayer. It's a prayer that Jesus would have known from childhood. It's a prayer much like we learned, or many of us learned as children, where our parents taught us. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. You remember that prayer? And then there's a couple more verses to that. But this is the kind of prayer that Jesus is praying, a prayer that he would have known from his childhood. So he knew that psalm and knew it well. Into your hands was a prayer to the Father, completely entrusting his life, his spirit, into the hands of his Father. Those hands are always ready to hold us in our times of uncertainty and fear. Just like our own father and mother are willing to reach out and to hold us close to them. And they're ready to reach out and to comfort us as well. Even as they nailed Jesus to the cross, Jesus put his hands in the hands of his Father. He trusted God to walk with him all of the way, to see him through all of his mission as he suffered and died on the cross. In our world today, one of our greatest fears comes from this COVID-19 that we've been dealing with for more than a year now. But you know, whatever we have to go through in this world, Jesus knows how we feel. He knows our fear. He knows our emotions. He knows our anxieties, and he walks right beside us, holding our hands, easing our burden, and calming our fears. David knew that as he penned the words to Psalm 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You are with me. Jesus said, into your hands I commend my spirit. Jesus' prayer, and that's what this is a prayer, is an example for us to the Father. Into your hands I trust you with my life. You pray that prayer? Do you ever pray that prayer? Listen, I encourage you to pray that prayer now through Easter. That's only, about 10 days away. Now through Easter. And see what God will do in you. Just pray, into your hands I commend my spirit. I commend my life to you. As you pray that prayer, you may not know what God is going to do through you. You may not know who He will send you to. You may not even see them. You may not even know the impact you'll have on someone's life, and because it may not happen for many years. We are only called to sow seeds of God's love in our world and among wherever we can. As you're serving, you may just find a thin place where heaven and earth intersect and where you can experience the hands of the living God guiding you, guiding your life and lifting you up and drying your tears. As we are approaching the Easter services, this Sunday is Palm Sunday, next Sunday is Easter. I encourage you, if you're not, I encourage you to attend worship somewhere. If you have no place to go, you're welcome to come and worship with us at 204 South Harrison Street in Grover Hill. Who knows, you just might encounter that thin place and experience God's presence. God bless you. Have a great week.